Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And if you're joining for the first time, this is part of our e-commerce series for which we meet every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We review one vendor or the solution independently related to e-commerce. And for today, we have a very interesting solution and probably one of the most popular in the headless community. Just the way our last product was, they were also extremely popular. So we are going to dig into why they are so popular. Before we do that, we are going to start with everybody's intros. I am going to start with my intro. If you don't know me, I am Sam Gupta, your host and principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP e-commerce digital transformation consulting firm. On that note, I am going to move to Robert for his intro.
I'm Robert Brown, principal of Robert Brown E-commerce Consultancy, and I specialize in helping small to medium-sized businesses move their e-commerce entity forward.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Robert. And if you're in the audience and joining for the first time, make sure you guys post your questions and comments. We typically try to cover them during the show. If you run out of time, we'll make sure that you receive your answers. On that note, Robert, I am going to quickly start on a little brief, and then we can talk about your experiences as well, if you have had any sort of experience with these guys and where you see them being fit. And then we can probably talk about the slides.
Yep.
So this is a very interesting solution. The way I personally like to see them as, obviously, they are probably, they would be gem, if I'm not mistaken, overall from the architecture perspective. They are really the content management platform. We have seen the content management piece when you talk about this whole headless experience related to content. We saw this, let's say, in the case of HCL Commerce. Robert, I don't know if you remember any other platform where we saw the delivery of content using APIs. Obviously, that's a big deal, because you are trying to centralize your content across all of the channels. The way these guys like to think about the content, the way the modeling of the content, and the way, for me as well, even though I have a lot of development background, it was harder to sort of wrap my head around. Okay, so you have things like Fantastic in the commerce tool space, which is going to be more of the mashing of the content, but then you have the content modeling. So it could be very hard to grasp if somebody is trying for the first time. But I can personally see the power, especially when you talk about maintaining content across many different websites, across many different channels. It's a nightmare. It's not easy at all. So this is going to be the whole planning, the scheduling, the production, the version control, publishing, anything and everything related to content. And that's where they excel. One of the things that I noticed about this platform, they are friends pretty much with everybody in the market. Okay, whether you are going to be monolith or you are going to be headless, doesn't matter. Okay, these guys are going to be equally present in every single ecosystem, the way Algolia was for search. So overall, if I look at them, I can see a lot of value in general. And from the integration perspective also, I think for these guys, it's going to be slightly harder than Algolia. That was much easier integration in general. But here the integration is going to be far harder when you are going to be publishing your content across all of the channels. Now, not too sure about pricing either. I don't have any sort of information related to that, how expensive they might be. But my understanding is going to be they are really for the enterprise play. I did not see many of the mid-market logos that were really utilizing this. But if you are looking for that composable best of breed experience, you probably have $1 million to spare in building the composable experience. That's where you are probably going to like this tool. So I am going to pause there, Robert. I don't know if you have any sort of experiences with this, any comments that you might be able to offer.
No, I have no experiences with them directly, just looking at them from the outside. Um, the number of e-commerce retailers that are using them and the size of them
Yep.
tells you an awful lot.
Yep.
One, it tells you that, this is enterprise grade, best in class content solution. And it comes with everything that goes along with that tier level.
Exactly. And I think, and Robert, I don't know whether you followed the whole content management platform. And when I say content management platform, I'm not necessarily talking about CMS. Okay.
Yep.
CMS is slightly different. Okay. When you talk about the whole content publishing, content management, content governance, there was a time when there were a lot of SaaS platform in the market. I believe, some of them were even from Canada. They were really popular. I don't know what happened to them, to be honest. Okay. I don't know if they were API driven, but there was a time when these SaaS tools were very popular from the content publishing perspective, but they were not as powerful because obviously they didn't have the composable experience. So I think this is where these guys are really powerful, because they are not only providing the whole centralized content management platform, but then you can also integrate and publish using API across the channels. So that's what is the centralized centralized governance platform from the content management perspective.
Right. So, we're going to have some smaller players come and take a look at this podcast at a later date, and they're going, oh, wow, this is a really cool tool. And it is, but it's enterprise level, which means, it requires those kind of resources and that kind of expenditure for the implementation and the management of it. But when you're at that level, you want the best in class, because you want to make sure that your experience rocks as much as it can, which is why, companies like Athleta and Crate and Barrel are using them. And, talking about the modules that comes prepackaged, it's not just a CMS, it's the entire content, system. That means, it's PIM and DAM and, scheduling and all that other fun stuff, the stuff that smaller players can't afford to pay for in a single system. Like, here's a big one. Many vendors will have sales that they'll push through with their third-party sellers, and they have to take effect at a particular point in time. Otherwise, you have a MAP violation. So it may be at 12:01 a.m. on a Friday morning, and if you don't have a scheduling tool to push that content out to take advantage of that, your team is staying up to make that happen. And if issues happen, then you have rollbacks, and suddenly you're there till 6 a.m. I've done that more than a few times. It's not a lot of fun. And so it's fantastic when you have a tool that can do this.
Yeah, so I completely agree with most of the comment that you mentioned, but I'll be careful in just one comment there, okay? And that's going to be PIM. And I don't know if these guys are trying to position themselves as PIM. I don't think their data model allows them to act as a PIM. They are not. I'm not too sure if they are really designed for that. They are best of breed, gem, and so anything data related, or when you talk about the content related to your products, these guys are going to serve that. But then the real product model, you still have to utilize a PIM if you are using a PIM, dedicated PIM, or you are probably going to be pushing this content on e-commerce. That would be my understanding.
Having not played with them, we'll have to take a look at the slides so we can actually determine that.
Yeah. And by the way, see, and that's why I find the whole Frontastic and this marriage interesting as well, because we are talking about content management system that, okay, hey, this is a content management system, but you know what? It's actually not, because they are trying to separate the concerns from the presentation versus the delivery of content. So in my mind, this is really the content delivery, content lifecycle management is how I would define. this, which is probably, another way of saying damn, I guess. But let's take a look at the slides, unless you have any other comments, Robert.
Nope.
Okay, so here some commentary. 2019, and they had raised a round from Columbia Lake Partners. This was just a 10 million, but right now I think their valuation is going to be very similar to commercetools, Algolia, which is probably going to be in billions of dollars. So obviously they are very well liked. This is obviously they had raised some more funds before, and they have had very similar journey as many other brands. And some of the logos that Robert was talking about is they have Gap, GameStop, and Debenhams, and then Ariat, we have Corp, obviously all the big ones, and then Indochino as well, which is wonderful. So this is another commentary coming from 2019, and this was, I think, the way their evolution has gone, everybody started sort of integrating with Salesforce Commerce Cloud. That's where the real money is, to be honest. Okay, obviously Salesforce has a lot of market share in the customer experience space, in the CRM space, marketing automation, you name it, right?
Yep.
So all of the enterprise clients are going to be with Salesforce. So if you can marry yourself with Salesforce, obviously you are going to get all those enterprise logos. So all of these solutions did the smart thing in really excelling with the Salesforce, and Salesforce likes to really position this whole best of breed experience, even though the newer players are going to talk about that. You know what, Salesforce is not necessarily headless. That's what they are going to say, but Salesforce is also trying to create very composable experience. They don't try to push everything Salesforce. They like to say, you know what, go for Algolia, go for Amplience, and create that best of breed experience from the customer experience perspective. So they are trying to enable this ecosystem, and that's why Salesforce is so successful. So that's what these guys did. They started with Salesforce Commerce Cloud. After that, they signed up partnership with pretty much everybody in the market, but Salesforce is where they got a lot of traction in general. So they are calling it as, so it reads here that API first content management solution. I'll be a little careful when you say content management solution, because CMS could come across as something like WordPress, or you could call that they are also CMS, but this is not CMS. It's the whole content lifecycle, content delivery, content publishing platform, as opposed to the real CMS. They are trying to separate these two things from the content lifecycle management perspective versus the actual presentation, for which there might be another tool that you might use. Or if you are going simply with e-commerce tool, then let's say if you are using Magento or WooCommerce, you would probably use their own sort of the CMS tool, and that's why these guys are able to play along pretty much with everybody in the market. The focus is on scheduling, production, and delivery of content for high volume enterprises. They very clearly read here that it's not supposed to be for your mom and pop SMB retailers. It's supposed to be for enterprises. When you have the volume, that's where these guys do wonders. And obviously you need to have thousands and thousands of channels. And typically what this means is, let's say you have 1,000 people in your marketing team, it's a nightmare to manage content lifecycle. That's where these guys really excel. So depending upon how big your marketing organization is, if it is going to be 5-10 people, I don't know if you're going to see much value in this. But let's say if you have 100 people, 200 people, that's where this tool is going to really shine.
So, just call out some other names just so people understand the level that they're at. It's Coach, Crate and Barrel, Banana Republic, Carhartt, De Beers, Epson, Finish Line, Gap, Hot Topic, iRobot, L'Oreal, Rawlings, Tapestry, Specialized, Traeger, Wine Enthusiast, Ultra Beauty. That should give you an indication that if you're not playing in those leagues, work towards it.
Let me ask you a question, Robert. So based on that list, do you think 90% of them are going to be in Fortune 1000 or not?
Yes.
Fortune 1000, right? At least?
Yep.
90% of them. Yeah, that would be and how large is going to be the marketing department for these companies? typically in your experience?
Well, the digital department themselves is probably going to be really like 20, 25 people.
Really?
Because most of them don't keep a lot of the stuff in-house, right? So they'll have the strategy in-house, and they may outsource some of the work. So they'll outsource maybe the people taking the photographs. They will have in-house the people actually managing them. They'll have people managing the strategy for the actual advertising, but outsource the ad management. It's just cost cutting, right? Because it depends on where it goes on the accounting line.
I completely understand, but I would be shocked if these companies have 25 people in marketing, to be honest. Okay, that's, obviously they are making billions and billions of dollars, and they
Well,
are probably going to have a lot of subsidiaries, right?
Well, it gets a little confusing, the way some of these organizations are structured, right? So it's not one big marketing department. Sure, they have a CMO.
Yeah.
And under the CMO, you're going to have a lot. It's probably broken out by divisions or branches or some sort of organization. So each organization is going to have their own little small group. You may have some COEs floating in there that each one of the groups depends on. So it really depends on how it's organized. I know that AIG for a little while had moved to a COE model.
Yeah.
So 4 or 5 of the different verticals had eliminated a bunch of staff and just used the COE, and the COE had outsourced half of the work to third parties. And they were more of a coordinator than an actual delivery arm.
Yeah, so I'll give you a ballpark, from my experience. Let's say if you look at, typically IT is the last one that companies get in general, okay? It also depends upon the industry, to be honest. Okay, and IT and probably CFO, no, they get controller, they'll get, then they'll get CFO. And once everything is settled, then they are probably going to get IT. In a $1 billion organization, I would say they are probably going to have roughly 100 people in IT. In my experience.
Organization?
$1 billion?
Oh, okay. I thought you said a million.
No. There's no way in the hell they can afford that.
A billion dollar organization could have a total marketing headcount of 100. But if we take a look at the IT companies doing lots of layoffs lately, like Twitter and Facebook, the folks that are being laid off, a lot of them are marketing, not the actual operations folks, but it's more the marketing teams.
Right. That is true as well. Okay, so great commentary there. So let's read some more here, overall from their positioning perspective. So what else do we have here? The Amplience differentiators. So they are talking about content can be rendered on demand, in format requested, delivering a consistent experience at every touch point. I think that's their value. Gives you the ability to set up content drops in advance. That's, in my eyes, that's a big deal in general. But then obviously you have the experience platform. So sometimes, you are probably going to be using a lot of different platforms. So I don't know how that handshake is going to go. So in this particular case, this platform is only for the workflow, the life cycle. Okay, then you are going to have the experience management platform, for example, Bloomreach. Okay, what Bloomreach is going to do is Bloomreach is also going to be publishing the content. So I don't know how Bloomreach is going to decide, okay, which content to publish, because obviously they are trying to render the content based on the audience, and they might have the A/B multivariate testing, whatever you want to call it. Okay, but obviously they are trying to play the game of analytics there, and they also need the content. So it could get really interesting if you are using a lot of different tools in your architecture. So obviously that design is going to be really critical in general. Here, then they are talking about built-in content visualization enables you to preview. I like this one a lot. Okay, this is really a big deal. Okay, so here, obviously, when you are developing your content, if you really want to see how it is going to appear on your website, it's very, very, very hard to visualize that. You can develop, let's say you are developing a video or some piece of maybe a landing page, and then you simply want to preview it. They are providing that ability. Now, how accurate that is going to be, because there is going to be a discrepancy between the model that you have inside your DAM versus what is going to be on your website could be very different. So even though you have a way to preview, but that could be harder as well. Now, then you have the integrated calendar is a big deal in my mind. Content calendar in general, that's very, very, very hard. But again, if you're going to be 25 people organization, that is still manageable. I don't know if you really need this tool. But if you are going to have, let's say, 100, 200 people, then obviously you need something. Any comments, Robert?
Nope.
No? Okay. All right. So some more comments here from 2020. So obviously they have made some advancements. And by the way, all of these tools, they have done wonders in the last 2 to 3 years. That's where they really picked up. To be honest, before 2018, I don't think the whole headless space was as prominent as common. But in the last 2-3 years, they have really picked a lot, and their valuation is skyrocketed in general. So here they are saying over the past 12 months, Amplience has signed significant multi-year contract, with leading global brands. So they have Epson here, Landmark Group, all over the place from the industry perspective. In my mind, they have a lot of fashion, beauty. They have electronics. They have tech, media. Pretty much everybody in the market. They have, what else do they have? They have a lot of industrial brands, which is mind-blowing in my mind. I don't know what they are doing with them, because they are probably not going to have as good content in general. So first, they should probably be investing a lot more in the content itself, I guess. Okay. So here's some more. So they are again calling themselves as more of the content management platform, CMS. In my mind, I think that could be slightly confusing for people when they don't really understand, okay, how Amplience and Frontastic is the head, with your commerce tool. So commerce tool had the e-commerce layer, but then they didn't have any sort of head. So it was harder for companies. So they acquired a company called Frontastic, which acts as more of the theme, the head, and then that is going to tie with your Amplience as the DAM. So that's why they are partnering with both. And they are saying Amplience provides content management system along with a powerful DAM, okay, which is digital asset management. In my mind, they are not necessarily CMS. They are more of the DAM. They are saying while Frontastic provides the front end that can be visualized and personalized, together they give their customers a best of breed solution that creates powerful customer experiences. This is where this could get really confusing. In my mind, Frontastic is more of CMS, and this is more of DAM. I don't know, Robert, do you agree with me or not?
Yeah, I do agree with you.
Okay. Any other comments, Robert?
So when we start, some of the folks that are going to be listening to this may be asking themselves, why should we really care about a DAM solution and the API, right? And I think we talked about it a few weeks ago with an example of like sneakers.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about sneakers, you will have maybe 4 or 5 versions of the same sneaker, 4 or 5 different colors. And then you may have 100 different sneaker lines,
right?
That that suddenly expands significantly the number of images that you have to manage.
Yeah.
When a new line comes out, because typically it's not you launch a new line every week. It's typically an annual redo, right? So, Nike is going to come out with a whole new, color scheme for all of their sneakers. Let's say April 1st.
Yeah.
And managing all of those images to make sure that they get exactly where they're supposed to be and it gets updated on the web is a logistical challenge that people with fewer SKUs just wouldn't understand.
Exactly. And I think there is another layer that I don't know how many people really understand, to be honest. Okay. So when you talk about managing your content inside your e-commerce platform, typically the content that DAM is managing, that is going to be done by your branding people. These are the content creators, the video people. They don't necessarily understand commerce, to be honest. Okay. So they are really, really good at creating thick ass content. They are really good marketers. They are really good creatives, but they are not necessarily as familiar with the your commerce terminology. So when you are going to give them your Magento or any other platform, then they need to understand commerce, how commerce works. Versus then you are giving them a best of breed platform, so you are sort of decoupling the whole the programming piece, the commerce piece, with your content life cycle. And for them, the only thing they really want is they want to produce really good content. They want to make sure that it is getting published at the right time when they really care for. So for them, this is very easy in general because they are decoupling all of that commerce perspective. So I don't think a lot of people really understand the difference between these two perspectives, Robert.
Yeah, I think that's a fair look at it. The content people,
Yeah.
the merchandising people, really what they care about is getting the greatest reaction from the customer.
Yep.
They want the customer to go ooh and ah and take a look at it. And so in a shoe, they're going to look at the different colors. They're going to want to spin the shoe around. They're going to want to flip it over. And so the number of images and videos and things that go along with that is a significant amount of data and a significant number of images that have to be managed to get in there. And then it has to be able to, it's not just one image because it has to be blown up, right? So
Yep.
you're going to actually have two image sizes. You're going to have thumbnails, and then you're going to have the big one. You're not going to just keep resizing the same one because that's not efficiency from a web call perspective. And that organization, and just think about putting together the old Sears and Roebuck Christmas catalog.
Yeah.
That was it took them a year. They would start right after Christmas. They'd start putting the catalog together again for the following year. And if you think about standard e-commerce, how far in advance you have to order a product to actually have it delivered in time for Christmas. That's how far in advance these departments are working to get this content in place.
Yeah, could not agree more. Great commentary. So if you don't have anything else, we have some more commentary here. Overall, I think they are mentioning that they have all 350 of the world's leading brands. So I don't know if they have 350 of Fortune 1000 or maybe 50% of them, but they seem to have a lot. That's a big deal, guys.
According to Built With, there is 118,000 sites that list them.
Interesting. 118,000. That's fascinating.
And half of these, I'm looking at the first page, and half of these I don't even recognize.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I follow that, to be honest. Okay, so either they have a free version, or something is going on there, or maybe these enterprises have a lot of different brand sites on which they might be using Amplience.
Well, so some of the ones that are in here is Vizio Answers, so the electronics company, Jewel. Let's see who else. Intercom, Janie and Jack, Japan Center. But like this one, Very.co UK. I've never heard of them.
Yeah. So somebody must have some sort of pre-integrated version. So in some cases they do have pre-integrated version. Okay, and if they are going to have that, I can almost guarantee that they are probably going to be pre-integrated with Salesforce Commerce. So whenever Salesforce Commerce is going, they are taking along. You should be using them, and then if their pricing is going to be friendly, then that could be a very SMB solution, right?
Yep.
But if they have to integrate, okay, in this particular case, I think you have to invest a lot on training, because obviously the whole thinking needs to change. It's very, very, very hard to understand even for a programmer, to be honest. Okay, how the whole content model is going to change. So obviously you need to coach your marketing people. So you need to invest a little bit there. But if you have to integrate this custom, then obviously you're looking at a lot of money there. But if this is pre-integrated, then it could be potentially a SMB solution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you look at their, let's see, who is it? Partners.
Yeah.
In their partner section, they list, a bunch of people that they play with.
So partner, I don't know what partner means, to be honest. Okay, so partner could mean that I am referring leads back and forth. That could mean a partner. Okay, versus you are very tightly integrated.
I misspoke. I meant marketplace.
Okay, so and again, marketplace also could mean a lot of different things. So obviously, we need to be a little careful there. But let's say if they are pre-integrated with all of these platforms, then it could be a big deal. Then it's much easier, from the adoption perspective.
Yeah, like commercetools, Salesforce, SAP Premium.
So commercetools is a very interesting one, because with commercetools, you are not going to get pre-integrated because that's APIs. Okay, so if they are integrated, let's say with Frontastic, then you could implement this in a SMB, because then you don't need to develop as much, I guess. Obviously, this project is not going to be like, if you have $50,000 for your commerce project, good luck with that. That's nothing. How are you going to do it, right?
Right.
So, but I mean, I think these guys are definitely integrated with a lot of different platforms. They are integrated probably with BigCommerce as well, and that's why they are able to play along with a lot of different platforms. In this particular case, the integration is going to matter. The other one, the Algolia integration, is not. The integration was really easy in that case, in my experience when we reviewed this. But in this particular case, it has to be pre-integrated for SMB.
It does, absolutely. There's a lot of SMB out there that think that they can go do the work, but there's a difference between being able to do the work and having the time to actually do it well.
Exactly.
It's like, I can cook a turkey, but that doesn't make it great.
Exactly. Okay, so some more comments here. So they have integration with Spryker as well. Again, I don't know what level of integration is going to be. They are calling Spryker as the modern platform as a service solution, which is a very interesting way of describing it, because they are really the B2B headless, commerce platform in my mind. Obviously, they have a head as well, and I don't know how sophisticated the integration is going to be. It seems like obviously they have the partnership there, and they are saying Spryker has roughly 800 API-based modules. So again, I don't know whether you have to integrate this yourself. If you're going to be doing that, then obviously you're looking for a lot of development dollars. But there are some vendors in the market that have created the pre-integrated solutions with your commerce tools, as well as all of this. So, you have some pre-integration available, and I'm pretty sure they are able to sell for some yearly fee. Obviously, that could get very expensive as well. But at least you have something available. So here, 2021, some more commentary here. So they are saying leading headless commerce experience platform for brands and retailers is pleased to announce our partnership. So this is with Fabric, and Fabric is the solution that we have reviewed. And this was the one that the Amazon guys started, if I recall correctly, right? If I recall correctly, they were really big on, I'm not sure if they were really big on fashion, but they were sort of the B2C as well as B2B, if my recollection is right. So again, this is one of the highest valuation at this point of time, just like commercetools. So seems like they are getting along with Fabric as well. Then we have Elastic Path. Elastic Path was very interesting platform as well. And Elastic Path is the platform. They have very different strategy, I guess, and they are trying to create this whole pre-bundled solution. So that's why they have created the pre-composed solution, even with these guys. So their strategy is slightly different. And Elastic Path, the way they were claiming that, I have unbundled, even your catalog and pricing, if I recall correctly, Robert. And that was very interesting way of looking at the data model. In my mind, the Elastic Path is more of the media telecom sort of solution, because that's where you are going to have that complexity of catalog versus your pricing as well as the product. So seems like they have created this whole composed solution, and that's their go-to-market strategy in general. So here they are talking about Elastic Path, the leading provider of e-commerce software for brands driving digital differentiation with composable commerce, and MyPlanet. MyPlanet is the agency that consults in that space. So they have created this pre-composed solution. So the pre-composed solution seamlessly combine the flexibility of the headless APIs and microservices powered commerce platform from Elastic Path out of the box. Out of the box is the key, guys. Okay, integrations with Amplience, Algolia, dynamic yield for personalization. That's your DXP. Then you have segment. That's your CDP. And then you have the Google Analytics as well. So again, the challenge with this is, okay, if you are going to be too much into best of breed, and if you are going to be picking and choosing, okay, I'm not cool with segment, I want my CDP, then you are going to have problems. Okay, so either you can eat at a very fancy restaurant where you can pick and choose whatever you want, or you can go to McD's and have at the affordable menu or location. But at the end of the day, you have to look at what your budget is and how much you can really afford with these things. Any comments, Robert?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, we all get, eyes bigger than our stomachs.
Exactly.
And then when you sit down at the table and you start to fill your plate, you realize, oh, I can't do that much. Okay.
Exactly. But when you are going to have so much best of breed and composable, that could be challenging in my mind. Mm-hmm. Okay. And by the way, see, if you go with that agency, then you are tight coupling with that agency, because obviously you are buying their IP. They have this whole IP of the integration that they have built, for some of the customers, and they are trying to re-commercialize it for the other customer. So, again, the headless is going with the pre-integrated. I don't know where to draw the line, whether that would be called monolith, but that's very interesting play in general. At the end of the day, what they are trying to do is they are trying to productize the customization that headless is trying to champion, with the ability to be able to scale, that the flexibility that your composable architecture provides. So in my mind, that is still good in general. So now this is another. So this is where the PIM comes in. No, this is actually, so they are calling this is another, Akinio is the one which is also very popular. Okay, these three with A, they all go together. Okay, and this is the PIM. So they have the PIM as well as the experience management platform. So this is probably going to be the combination of your Bloomreach plus your PIM. So again, that's a very interesting play. So they have announced the integration with this one as well, Amplience and Akinio. And here, so, and that's why I was thinking, Robert, the Amplience is not supposed to be the PIM. So here, this is the PIM that they are trying to integrate with, and this is the product data intelligence solution. So obviously you have the data intelligence here as well. So this is their screen. This is very similar experience as HCL Commerce, and I think HCL Commerce has the pre-integrated DAM. We saw this in case of Kaibo as well, if I remember correctly. But obviously, Kaibo had really outdated platform that they have pre-integrated. So obviously, their strategy was very similar to Elastic Path, where they try to integrate everything and they are offering as a bundle, but then they bought really outdated platforms. So I don't know how many marketers are really going to like those clunky UIs and the platforms. And recently, I think they have spun off one of their experience units. So I don't know whether they are still bundling the experience platform or they are going best of breed with experience management, because in my mind, the experience management does not require as thick integration as you are going to need, let's say, for the content management or the other commerce functionality. Experience management can be siloed. It doesn't have to be integrated. Robert, any commentary?
It doesn't have to be integrated, but having the right people to make sure that it gets the attention that it deserves.
Yep,
is important.
Yep.
I have to ask you a question though.
Yeah, please.
Is this your demo, or did you pull this screenshot from somewhere? Because I didn't take you as an Iron Maiden fan.
Sorry. Okay, so you need to repeat the joke. So Iron Man fan. Okay, so I obviously got this from the YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. But I'm kind of a fan. Okay, now if you point that out.
Okay.
Okay, so obviously, so this is what we are looking at here. This is going to be the dynamic content overall from the demo perspective, and then as Robert pointed out, that this is a very interesting demo, obviously with Iron Man, and the whole content modeling could be very interesting in general. And Robert, I don't know if you're going to have any sort of commentary here, how to sort of rewire this thinking when you are, we have seen this in the case of HCL Commerce. Sure, you are going to have a bunch of URL. Those URLs are going to have the hierarchy of the content. But again, I'm still having hard time wrapping my head around how this whole content modeling is going to be there. Let's say if you have a brand that managed, let's say inside Magento or WordPress, and now they are trying to switch on this. So how will they remap all of their URLs and the content hierarchy, and how that will be integrated with the website? Do you have any sort of commentary there?
You just gave me agita, remapping URLs. No. That when a brand actually, creates the URLs, they try to do everything that they can to keep those intact no matter what, because of what it does for your SEO and SEM. And when you go to change those, I mean, if you're doing a complete re-architecture of your URL strategy, then that requires a lot of back-end work to organize the communication and the recrawling of your site before you launch, to make sure that you don't lose your place in the SEO and SEM, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? And
that's actually a very interesting commentary, to be honest. That's very, very interesting. And I was not thinking more from the SEO perspective. So here you are saying that all of these URLs are going to be public, right? These are not going to be internal. So everything is going to be public. So obviously you need to pay attention to that as well. And then you are trying to reutilize some of the content, some of this content at different places. So I don't know how that is going to play out.
Well, you can use the content in different places. So I think what's going to happen is, I think what they're showing you here is this is where it's going to go.
Exactly.
Right?
That's the hierarchy. Yep.
Right. And so the API is going to take this image and you're going to map it to these public URLs. So I think that's what's happening here. You're mapping it to the location that it's going to be loaded to.
Right. So you are going to have, and we are going to see on the next screen, you are going to have the real API that is going to pull the URL, and that URL is going to be embedded on wherever composable experience that you are trying to create.
Correct.
You simply need to dump that, piece of code there, and the image you can change from the code. So anytime you're going to change here, that's going to be reflected on your site.
Potentially, and it depends on how they've architected it, right? So it could be one of two ways. And I think you could have an individual image dedicated, mapped to a particular location A, and you would not have it mapped to multiple locations, because if you go to change that image, right, and this is the strategy piece of it. Do you want to only be able to change it in one location, or do you want to change it in all locations all at once? And that's a marketing strategy.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I think some of the marketers, if they don't really have that coding background and understanding of how these URLs are going to be reflected and what changes they are going to have, it's going to be really hard to. What I'm telling you, Robert, even I'm struggling to understand how this is all going to play out. So how they will be able to understand, it's going to be really hard.
A lot of them don't. And so I would have to go in and explain it to them. And then sometimes I would have to take it away from them and say, no, you can't do that because you're going to break this, this, and this.
Exactly.
And they would just give me the glazed over deer in the headlights kind of look. And it wasn't that I was trying to be mean. I was just trying to make sure that you changing this image didn't break in 4 other places as well.
Exactly.
If you're updating this image for this concert tour, you have this particular piece of marketing. Let's say that it's going to the banner on the home page, but you had that image name because sometimes they try to reuse the image name,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it doesn't break SEO.
Yeah.
So if they're going to reuse the image name, they had it mapped to 3 different locations. That kind of creates a problem. And
Yeah.
so you have to have that strategy mapped out well in advance. Okay, if we're going to do this campaign, individual images, that way we can change them without impacting anything else, or are we looking for a complete speed and you're going to have multiple calls when anybody calls that image at wherever they are in the experience.
But just to be fair with them, they do have a preview of wherever that image is getting published. You can see and feel if that is going to be okay. And again, I don't know how that modeling is going to work. So that particular setup is going to be tricky in my mind.
Well, so that's the question, right? How is it going to represent where that image is tied to?
Exactly.
Where is it going to be published? Is there going to be tabs like this image is, or is it going to list all the URLs, all the places that you're how is it going to represent that to the marketer that or the merchandiser that's publishing this?
Yeah, so there has to be a little collaboration there between whoever is setting up this platform versus what is happening on the website. So there has to be a lot of thinking that has to go in for this to work. And obviously, once you set up once, then next time, anytime you are changing the content, it might be okay because you have the modeling figured out inside your content platform. But that's a lot of work in yeah. Okay, so here you have the dashboard and all of this content piece. So again, from the marketer perspective, if you look at this from the content creator's perspective, this is awesome because they have everything that they need from their workflow perspective. It's really easy, to follow along. The whole publishing schedule is going to be there. So I absolutely love it. For content creators, I think this is mind blowing in general. Now this is the calendar. I love it. Okay, even for a small company as us, creating content is not easy. Even if you're going to have, let's say, 5 marketers in your team, when you are going to have 100 marketers, good luck with that. It becomes very hard. So I kind of like the calendar a lot.
Oh, the calendar is so key. Having that ability to actually map it out visually, so you reinforcing when it's supposed to go. So there's a social media tool that does that pretty well, Loomly. I just installed that for a client, and they were just so happy that it has these approval levels and it has the mapping of when each piece of content is supposed to go out, and it had that visual representation. They're like, wow, you mean I don't have to have my calendar on my desk marked with circles and X's? No, it's right here for you.
So just to be clear, Robert, on that tool, that is supposed to be more of the distribution tool, right? Not the content creation itself. So this one is everything. Correct. This is the creation of the content as well.
No, I get that. I was just specifically addressing the calendar function.
Yeah, could not agree more. Great point. Okay, so here, this is the production, okay? And this is how you are going to see how this is going to appear in production. Again, I'm a little lost overall, how this all, the modeling is key here, okay? If you get the modeling right, obviously, then everything is going to be okay. But, the first time set up the modeling, the way you are going to be doing the whole data modeling, that could require a little skill there. So you need a lot of help in general for that to work.
After this, everybody can sign up for our workshop on modeling your data for your next effort.
Exactly, and absolutely free. There's no charge for that. Okay, so this is the content type, and the way this is done, it's obviously very turnkey in general. They have roughly 28 different asset types that you can create. It's very interesting. So obviously the modeling is probably done, but again, the whole navigation is still going to require a little bit of training in my mind, even if you can create this. So it's very interesting that they are able to provide a lot of turnkey content pieces that you can simply take and overlay whatever information you have to. So I kind of like it. And
so basically these are just templates.
Exactly, but I mean that is at least done for you, so you don't have to do the thinking of how the landing page is going to look, from the modeling perspective, from the data modeling perspective.
Yep.
Okay, so this is where obviously the development, it's all very developer focused. Developers love this. So, the experience is very similar to your HCL Commerce, to be honest. The only difference between this is going to be it's really designed for that scale. Okay, when you need to scale the DEM separately from your e-commerce, because each of them could have very different workload, and you might require very different infrastructure in general. So again, this is really designed for that enterprise workload. But overall, from the API experience perspective, it's not going to be any different. These are very similar APIs, the way your APIs in HCL Commerce is going to look. And I don't remember if we saw them in any other platforms. So that's probably going to be the closest comparison that we have seen so far. Okay, so now let's review some of the reviews, and obviously this is where we are going to get the real intel whether people are liking this or not. So this is coming from digital marketing executive, so obviously she must be more into the content team in my mind, the way her title reads. Then mid-market, 51 to 1,000 employees. She's saying good for front end but does not do everything. Okay, so I don't know what she means by does not do everything. I think she was expecting it to be more of the CMS, but that's not the case. That's not the role of this platform. So it's saying, she's saying it's straightforward to create content when you have the templates built and set up. So that's where the template as well as the whole data modeling piece, I think that's really key. So that's going to require some effort. That's why she's talking about alongside with commercetools to help. So she was on commercetools and she got this one as well to help create categories. So now they are keeping their categories inside this one. Again, architecture could be all over the place. You probably require another tool to map all of this. Okay, where is everything? Where are my categories? Where are my products? You could have a little dance there in finding out, okay, who's hosting what. So that's very interesting. So now dislike, it does not do everything. And the fact that there isn't any HTML limits, what you can change, add to your site. Not sure what she means by that, to be honest. For an e-commerce site, you have to ensure all the software links up and matches, otherwise everything breaks. Okay, so this is the real world, and can make it difficult to catch problems quickly. Also with caching, it can take changes anywhere from 45 minutes to half an hour to pull through. Now that's a real problem there, in my mind. But Robert, I'll let you comment on that.
I think she has unrealistic expectations. 45 to 90 minutes for your entire stack to pull these through, I don't think is that long.
So let's do a little scenario here, and let's see if you are going to be comfortable with this. Okay, so let's say if I'm a marketer, okay, I'm trying to make my content change. I'm trying to publish on my website so that I can finish my work, go home. Okay, that's my job. Okay, so now I have published my content. Okay, I have scheduled through this platform. Now I'm going there and I'm simply waiting. Okay, is the change gonna come or not? Okay, is it gonna break? Is it gonna
Well, so we're talking about a couple of different things here that can't all be attributed to this tool, right? So one, she's not telling us how many changes or how many images she's trying to do here, or whether they include videos. Is it a single one? They're only doing a single update, and a single image takes 45 to 90 minutes. That's a problem. But I have a sneaking suspicion that she has quite a large number of items that she's working through here.
So I think there is another comment that we are going to review, in a few seconds.
Okay.
But they also mentioned that the whole caching delay, it's because of the caching, because they have to do caching. So because of caching, it's taking as long, and they cannot rebuild the whole site and replicate this. So it's going to take as long for everything that you are trying to publish. Now, why are you publishing directly in production? Not too sure. Because ideally you should be testing in your test and then publishing in production, right?
Right.
So again, the maturity is not there, I guess, in the team, but they have these fancy tools.
Yes, yeah, so they haven't talked about how many tiers you have, whether you have, a QA, a UAT, a pre-production, then production environment, or if it's literally just, back end and front end two-tier.
My understanding is going to be these guys are trying to plug directly with production, and that's where the problem is, to be honest. And that could be frightening experience. It's not good at all. I don't like it.
that could be the way they've architected it. I can't imagine that they're letting customers just push directly to production without a review first.
Well, so that's the whole game, right? I mean, see, you have the content platform, and they are arguing that you don't have to review. You can publish directly to production because I've done your, modeling. Now, if you simply want to change an image, that shouldn't be a problem, right?
Well, no, because you want to look at it in a test environment to make sure that the images that you modified and you uploaded are actually what, you got what you expected.
But the way these guys are approaching, the way this review is, I'm pretty sure they are doing directly in production. So very interesting. So let's look at the second one. So here, this is a very recent review. So here, definitely not developer friendly. Okay, so that's very interesting because this is supposed to be a development tool. Caching issue has troubled me for a while now. Sometimes it takes minutes to hours to reflect changes. Yes, because of caching. It's a great tool for content editors to manage content and assets, the straightforward software. So again, it's designed for that, but it could be problematic. I can see why they are struggling. Okay, so that's it.
So let's address that for a second. So, hypothetical question: why should I care about caching?
As who? As content editor? As developer? As
no. I as a company.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a tool. Why should I care about caching?
I'm still not sure if I follow the question. So do you want to expand a little bit more in terms of where you are heading with that question?
Okay. So I'm looking at these reviews and I'm seeing, caching is an issue that has troubled me for a while. Well, why do I want to go with them if they have this caching issue? You have to realize that there's going to be some non-technical people that are going to be, looking at this and listening to this and going, well, shouldn't I just get a tool that doesn't have this caching issue? Why is the caching so important? Do you want to take that?
Yeah. So I guess, marketers understand caching now, at least in 2022.
I would. Some do, some don't. Don't say all. It's never a black and white.
They understand speed. Okay, if they are marketers, they are in SEO game. They know how bad it could get if your site does not have speed, and if you're going to have too many API calls. They understand. One of the things that developers are going to say, I'm going to cache it out. Okay, things are going to be easy. That's the only solution they are going to have. So that's why they understand caching.
So some of them do. So, you need to be able to build up your cache with those images so you can sustain those calls. And I'm sorry, you just can't dump it all there. And then if you have, the content distribution, CDNs, right? Then you have to make sure that it gets to all of them as well. The same thing happens when you start messing with your DNS settings, because you have to wait for it to propagate to all the different servers. And so I'm assuming that there's a CDN at play with this as well. And so then you have to wait for it to distribute to all of those servers to make sure that happens.
Exactly. And a lot of marketers are going to call me out on this one. Okay, they are going to say, IT guy speaking, but you know what? Deploy first and test before you go to production, regardless of whether you are doing just the content changes or you are doing some sort of website changes. You have to test because Google is notorious. It doesn't forgive anybody.
Nope, it does not. It has a very long memory.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a traffic ticket. Okay, it goes for 3 years.
Yep.
Any more comments, Robert?
Nope, none.
All right, guys. So that's it for today. If you joined for the first time, this was part of our e-commerce series for which we meet every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, and we review one vendor or the solution. So make sure you guys are going to be here next week. We're going to come back with another solution. On that note, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight.
Thanks all.